breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
It is the future. In 1999, you are listening to The Glitterbois.
Well, friends and listeners and followers and good neighbors, we are back to the Rifts World Book series review. We've been away from this one for a bit. Matthew, I remember when we were first starting about doing this podcast, we're like, oh, what can we really talk about? There's just like a bunch of books and some topics. We'll be done in a couple of years, right? This is episode 130 something, and we are only now on World Book 8 of the flagship line of the Palladium product line.
It's been busy.
Yep. So Rift Japan, folks. I fielded personally and accepted submissions from other players at my table. More content from Rift Japan than any other Rifts book in my high school years.
Really?
Yep. I played more characters from Rift Japan, and I had players who fielded more "Can I play X?" from Rift Japan than any other of the Rift source material, including my favorite, which is Rift's New West. Rift Japan was where it was at.
Rift Japan got by me because it came out the year I finished high school, and money got really hard to come by after that. So yeah, this was like in the era where I stopped buying books for a few years.
Yeah, this came out at the height of my height's not the wrong word. This came, I would say, in my youthful Palladium prime. This was 95. I would say my height was 98, but yeah, 95 was when I had just got my first ever job, Papa John's Pizza, and I had disposable money, and I was just buying all of the Rift books and Palladium stuff that I could.
Yeah, this year I had my first ever apartment, and I bought absolutely nothing except for ramen.
Ooh, I'm sorry. All right, folks.
But, I mean, Samurais on Dragons, people. Samurais on Dragons. This is my first time through it. It's a fucking badass book, and we're going to get into it.
Samurais on Robo Dragons, my friend. Robo Dragons.
I should have said it. I realized as it left my mouth, I was doing it a grave injustice.
Okay, let's give a high-level overview of what this is. This book is 218 pages of fucking awesome, is what it is.
We would like to go on record as saying we are unbiased, and this has just as much validity as the other world books that we think are just as good, like England.
Yeah.
Oh, you people.
I really thought I'd get shouted down on
honestly, that. I think this is a more complete role-playing game. I can't even finish it.
That's it. I'm out.
Oh, okay. So anyway, Rift Japan. It's a good book.
Okay, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Why is it a good book? Justify this to me.
I was afraid that when I went back into reading this week, I was going to be hit with a whole series of tsunami-sized waves of,
this didn't age well.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. And I was not hit by any. There were a couple of very small ripples, like frozen in the swath of sand. But for the large part, I was impressed. I was more impressed with this book now than I was as a teenager. What about you, Jacob? What do you think?
So I really appreciate this book. It does a real good job without bending way too hard into stereotype. It feels more like loving admiration rather than Orientalism.
Mm-hmm.
They also add some really nice things in there. One of the best sections on what to do with a Millennium Tree that I've ever seen in one of the books since Millennium Trees got introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was some thought into how to do the mishmash of the cultures in there rather than like putting things side by side and just going, and it works for some reason. So, there was a lot of thought put into it.
Yeah, each of the nations, each of the factions that are presented is actually given a somewhat plausible reason for existing within the timeline of Rift's Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Republic of Japan, which is straight up ripped out of time and plopped into Rift's Earth like 2 years ago kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even them, like their whole concept of that, it reminds me a lot of, I don't know if either of you are familiar with the original Earth Dawn role-playing game.
Yes.
But in that, there was there was like a cyclical horror that was invading and destroying Earth. And in order to escape it, a whole bunch of different civilizations did a whole bunch of different things. And one of them was the greatest city on the planet, Palladium, which decided that it was going to send itself into another dimension to just wait it out. Kind of like what these people did.
Pretty
And
much.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Can we talk about page 21 then?
Okay.
Absolutely. Tell me what's on page 21, Matthew.
The most pugnacious samurai that ever was.
I mean, he does kind of look like he's you what, mate?
What'd you say about my mama?
Sorry, my mom. Okay, let's talk about the art here. There's some decent art. There's some weird stuff
There's
here.
some amazing art.
And then there's Randy Post's art.
Oh, yeah.
Which just blows my fucking mind. His, I don't actually know if Randy's a male or female. I'm just assuming male. I don't know anything about the artist except that they are prolific throughout the 90s. And the art they have put through, let's just flip a few pages forward to page 25. Look at this majestic piece of some samurai fucking cutting in half this thing from the void. It's, it's good stuff.
It's a straight up Nurgle demon, honestly. But
yeah, but nobody does demons quite like Nurgle does demons.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. All of the art in this book is wonderful. Everything from the kind of that 90s comic book style that whoever it is that has that W or M or whatever that, I don't actually know who that artist is. I'm shaming myself as a Palladium fan. But
taking away your Palladium fan card.
Yeah.
Ripping it up as we speak.
But all of the
WM?
Yeah.
It's probably Vince Martin.
Oh, Vince Martin. Yeah. Vince Martin definitely has kind of a 90s era comic book style going on. But then you've got Randy Post's art, which has this like just totally gritty, badass, this kind of like, I associate Randy Post with Shadowrun because of the suck cheese shark face picture from Shadowrun 2nd edition burned into my brain forever.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, I believe, associate RK Post with Vampire because I think Post did a lot of the more visceral pieces from that. Yeah.
And there's just some straight beautiful pattern stuff too, like on 45. The wandering sword, the living samurai sword.
Yeah. Just
with the Bushido code.
Yeah, he uses a lot of shadow. Like all of the pieces that he draws, it's like there's a whole lot of detail put onto what people are wearing, but they themselves tend to be in some kind of a strange shadow.
I love that. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So, okay. The whole time that I was reading this and preparing for this episode, I kept going over in my head, how are we going to do this? Are we just going to go from the beginning and, just page by page and say what's there? Or are we just going to jam it?
Let's jam this.
Okay.
Because I don't have 4 hours and you could go page by page.
I could. What's your favorite part of the book, Jacob?
My favorite part of the book is actually the really effective cultural breakdown on all of the nations and factions of Japan. As a student of history, the little call-outs without direct callback was really, really nice. It left me wanting more out of some things they didn't put in there, but it's like everything from the discussion of corporate structures and the entire Republic of Japan is thoughtfully put together, and the interplay between them makes a fair bit of sense.
What's your favorite part of the book, Matthew?
I love what they did with all the provinces. I liked all the villages. I loved the amount of interplay that they did with each, because we always forget until we watch, something on it. But for a not overly large island, there were a ton of kingdoms in Japan before it was unified, and they took all that and put it together in this, and I think that showed a good breadth of understanding of it.
I have historically always felt that in games, be it medieval fantasy games or, Western superheroes or whatever, anything that takes place in an era before mechanized travel, I've always felt that people don't quite understand exactly how much space is in physical space. Like exactly how much land is in a square mile or such. And when you look at Japan's history and you look back through the crazy amount of history that Japan has compared to many other parts of the world that have much more spread out pastoral lands, you realize that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of towns and kingdoms that were strangely very far apart from each other, further apart than one might think until one actually sits and conceptualizes concepts of distance. And even something as, you look at the globe, you just spin the globe around and you stop and you look at Japan, you're like, shit's fucking tiny. But no, it's not. It appears tiny, but there is a lot of land to cover in such a small space.
And like the closest allegory that people may or may not be familiar with is like the Balkans or that section of the world for a lot of the same reasons. Mountains are difficult to cross, and Japan and the Balkans are very mountainous regions. It separates things. It creates isolation and only contact during seasonal periods. And that's a big part of Japan's development history. And it did allow for different cultures to emerge on a very tiny space.
I think a lot of people who haven't lived within shot of mountains don't quite understand how big mountains are.
Yeah. And how much of an obstacle they are.
Yeah.
Like, and for those of you who live on the East Coast, we're talking about mountains, not those gentle, large hills you have there.
Yeah. although we're not
Appalachians, they have hollers or something.
Don't be shaming the Appalachians, my friend. Don't be shaming the Appalachians.
See, the Appalachians aren't as high, but they are deep.
Yep.
I believe the term you're looking for is geriatric.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired.
Oh, we just lost Tennessee. Maybe Kentucky. Sorry, folks.
The one thing that revisiting the Japan book really awakened in me, weirdly enough, was this urge to grab Riff's Russia and Riff's Japan and to do a Riff's version of the Russo-Japanese War.
That's interesting because I am looking forward to some of the books that we have coming up. I have no experience whatsoever with Riff's Russia. I've never read anything about Riff's China. I know that there are like some demon kings, and according to this book, it's a It is a hellish wasteland. So I'm curious to see how those actually pan out in the text. Okay, so I had asked you that question. My favorite thing about the book would be, honestly, just the background of the people, the details of the various locations, the way all of these little provinces connect with each other and how they think about each other, the whole concept of the zone. And I think it was H brand or the shogunate that was positioned right next to it, and how they themselves had essentially been fighting the demons so long that they themselves have become the demons, kind of thing. I love the strange. I love that the Republic of Japan, the super high tech place, and the New Empire, the super ancient low tech place. They're fucking pals. Like, they didn't go the obvious route of having them hate each other. They just went kind of like, yeah, man, these guys could be your grandchildren. So they're cool. Yeah, I love, most of all in this book, I love the treatment that the setting gets. And it's not just straight up, weeaboo masturbation. This seems like it could have been an anime written by Japanese people and animated by Japanese people.
I can see that. I was really happy with their treatment of the samurai, incidentally. Like it felt right. Just the indestructible sword. The sword of valor and power.
And I liked the concept of the gods having come back and said, hey, this is the way that things are going to be. So, like, do this shit now. Cool. And and they're like, okay, we're going to do it. Oh, you giving us some magic swords? Oh, thank you, Amaterasu. Thank you, Amaterasu. Yes, kind of stuff. I love the caste separation that they have returned to society. I myself, as a human, I think it's terrible. It's horrible. Caste societies are the worst. But I love that they treated it with that historical lens of people in this world having read about something from the past and thought that that was the way to do it, having modeled their own society upon ancient texts and lore. And
it certainly doesn't help when a all-powerful deity shows up and goes like, and this is the way it's going to be, son.
And here are these swords. Have them.
Have them. Yeah. By the way, we like sumo.
It's hard for me to pinpoint something that I would tag as my least favorite part of the book or something I didn't like.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, same.
Well, Matthew, you go first.
I liked the general treatment of the culture and of the tech and of the weapons, but there were a couple of things that just annoyed me, like the power shuriken. Like, that is just I mean, I realize this is an MDC thing, but so contrived.
Yep. And that's actually reminded me, fucking Glitterbois.
Yeah. Like, how?
Can we stop, please, making Glitterbois that make the other Glitterbois pointless?
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah, Glitterbois should be like a cosmetic skin that you grind for.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you get the samurai Glitterbois. You get X Glitterbois, you get Y Glitterbois, but they perform very similar.
Yep. I'll ignore that tangent for a future date. The one thing I did not like about this book, not enough baseball, especially when they introduced the Republic of Japan.
Not enough baseball. Okay.
I'm not a baseball person, but baseball, modern Japan, baseball.
That's true. I mean,
I think they left something off the table there. Just saying.
Okay. Well, I think that's a low blow, man. Like, this book is fucking worthless.
I wouldn't say worthless. I'm just saying. I would have loved to see a shortstop OCC.
Oh man. Oh, a baseball-based supplement for Rift. That's got to exist. Like, there just seems like something that would be all up in a Rifter sometime.
Like,
also, the Glitter Force is like the worst name ever.
Oh God,
no, we're just not going to talk about that. You see, I already forgot it existed.
And then you had to re-traumatize him.
Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate that.
So should we talk about the Ninja Borg or not?
Come on. I love the Ninja Borg.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. And the Dragon Borg. Oh my God, I love the Dragon Borg. I love them all. Like, no. Ninja Juicer.
Oh yeah.
Little dumb.
Yeah.
That is one thing that happens a lot in Palladium books where we have this new world book. Okay, well, we're going to take the crazy, but it's way, or, the board, but it's way. And they just, slap an adjective onto an existing thing and then make that an existing original thing obsolete. It's
like the Samurai Samus.
That is the singular one that I can at least appreciate as a play on words. And that's where it stops. Yep. That, and again, I feel that is just Palladium was pandering to their fans, they're like, oh, our fans want more of this, so we're going to give it to them kind of stuff.
Yep.
I can ignore that. The lore, the factions, the way the factions interact, the map, the history.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I will say the atmosphere, the general atmosphere, the tonality of the writing is fantastic.
Yep.
There's a couple things where I went, cute. But on the whole, like a very, very, very well thought out, well balanced world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the Millennium Tree is there, but it is.
It's as if somebody sat down and thought, what would it actually be like to role play an entire campaign in this place?
Yes.
And they wrote a book that would tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. I feel, well, I looked at the book, you look at the credits, and I saw CJ Correa's name on there. So
yeah,
I've begun to associate CJ's name with awesome.
And again, they did this in 212 pages.
Yeah.
And it's solid, very solid.
Good stuff.
It's not Orientalism. It's not Japanese fetishism, weeabooism, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of respect in there. Yes, there are bits and pieces, but overall, especially when it came to building culture, it was thought out. It was done with care.
Yeah. And I appreciate that.
I thought the weapon design was very well done, both with the, I know we just trashed them, but I did like the design of the juicer, the board, and I also liked the AT and the H line of like hand weapons. I liked the clean lines of them. It's a distinct difference to this is your 4D6 MD weapon that most people carry. This is your, because there was a lot of things that were starting to look the same to me. And I liked the flat planes and very minimalistic look of these weapons.
Yeah. Well, final thoughts, folks.
There was something that I wanted to talk about just a little bit more before we get to final, and that was the plethora of vagabond style characters in here. The police officer, the infantrymen. This had the most non-overpowered, and then a whole bunch of Glitterbois, but it had the most people doing their job in a society that I've seen. And I would love to play in a game one day that is like that. Doesn't have to be here, but I would like to play. These are people moving about where great things are happening around them, and they have some small connection to the great lines and plots. And that's, God, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's one of the wonderful things about Palladium is that it takes time to put you at every level of society and at every level of power. And this book gave you a whole bunch of new ones to use.
I'm Matthew, you kick something up for me. Like,
I do that.
Yeah. A start of an Iko-Iki movement in Rifts, Japan, as a campaign focus with like that quote unquote street level Rifts characters. I'm suddenly really digging this. This is awesome.
So like the Yakuza video games, but Rifts Japan. Nice. I could deal with that. That would be fun.
9 curtains for life.
Well, folks, one question that we always ask at the end of these type of episodes is, do you need this book?
I mean, if you need that feel, yes. If that's something you enjoy, then yes.
As much as I love this book, as much as I love what they did with it, if I was assembling my core element riffs collection, I don't think it made a slot in that. It's got a lot to offer, but I don't think it's there for me.
I will agree with this. This is one of my favorite Rifts books. It was then, and I'm glad it holds up now and maintains that position in my library. However, one thing that is constantly impressed upon you when you are reading this is how little contact that Japan has with the rest of the world. How almost nobody else knows what's going on there. Like various factions, when they talk about the relationships with other factions outside, they actually list off some things like the Splugorth or the New Navy or the Coalition or the NGR. And almost all of them are like, never heard of them. And this is a contained setting. This is a campaign setting all of its own. If you have a fancy of taking your campaign in that direction or even running a campaign there, then yes, you need this book. But if you are not going to Japan specifically, no, you don't. That's it. You should still get it because it's a good book.
Yeah, agreed. I forgot about all the goblin stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the demon stuff. These are not eldritch. These are trickster goblins, and I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. All of the monsters that they bring out here are good.
Yep.
It's a good book, and I think it works. It works very well as a standalone book.
Yeah.
You don't need any other books but the core rules and this book if you want to play a game in this setting.
Which is honestly one of its biggest strengths as a book. You're not having to crawl through 8 other, 12 other books to pull references.
Yeah. So, I mean, it actually, Rift Japan, given the requirement, could actually be one of the lighter investment Rifts settings.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said you need it, and I think you do. Here's why. Like if you're just going off the incomplete rule, the ultimate, God, words, how do you even word? The ultimate is the only other book you have. Do you need this? If you had limited and you only had your base copy of the rules, I would say yes, because this is all the interactions, all the parties and powers, all of the monsters of all the different varieties, including the human varieties. Like, regardless of how the Glitterbois somehow magically got here and everywhere else, taking that out for a second, what you said was correct. This is a complete setting, not one of several, but as it stands, you can put this next to the ultimate and play for the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I do think you should buy it.
Well, that's what we got to say on it, folks. Once again, thanks for listening. If you want to help us out, then please follow some of the links that we have in our show notes. They go to various places like our coffee page, if you want to throw us some dollars, or our Pinecast tip jar. But if you just want to go right to the source, we entirely encourage you to not pay us any money and instead go buy this book from Palladium. You can get it online at Drive-Thru RPG. There will be a link in the show notes, or you can go directly to their Palladium bookstore and buy it there. Best part is they will probably sign it for you and might insert random stuff in there that you weren't expecting. It's one of the few publishers out there few of the old school big house publishers who they're probably not super big anymore, but still you can order directly from the publisher, and I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cut out the middlemen. All right, folks. Well, that was Rift Japan. Thanks for listening.
Starships, magic, mystic martial arts, romance. All of these can be found in A Cloak of Blades by Isaac Scher. You might have heard my name before. I've done a lot of voiceover work for Breakfast Puppies, and I've recently released my first novel. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback, and you can get it for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I do hope you'll support my work as you're supporting Breakfast Puppies, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Have a good one.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons 0 license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterbois. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.